Welcome back to Garage Story. So I spent $800 on a Land Pride Zero Turn, hoping that I could flip it on my journey to making $50,000 off of flipping. And I ran into a few problems along the way, did some things I haven't ever really done before. So let's see, did I make a profit? All right, behind me here is a Land Pride ZST 48-inch cut with a Kawasaki engine. Overall, I think this will be a good little mower to flip. Don't know how much we'll make on it just because Land Pride is not as much of a recognized brand around here as like Skag or Hustler or something like that, or Bad Boy. So presenting issue is it's not starting. The starter isn't working good, so that is a little concerning because that means I wasn't able really to test things out much. Just make some weird squeaky noises. And the previous owner said that it had kind of been doing that over the last few years. It's getting worse and worse and eventually it just wouldn't start. He did say he thinks that the transmission drive belt needs to be replaced. That concerns me a little bit. I don't want to deal with bad transmissions. That would be a bummer. But it's got right about just a little under 200 hours on it, so I really doubt the transmissions are bad. It's been stored inside. The front tires are off the bead. It's been sitting for a little bit. He said this rubber thing that puts the fuel line in needs to be replaced. There's something about the seat foam is disconnected. It's in the truck cab. I may glue it and I may just get a seat cover for it. And then other than that, hopefully we just need to service this thing. Maybe put on new blades. Engine oil, 104 hours. I paid $800 for this. I'm hoping to sell it for between $2,000 and $1,500. Probably listed around $1,800. Try to get like $1,600 for it maybe. So we'll see. Hopefully we can make, you know, close to double our cost or close to $1,000. Yeah, this is my first Land Pride Zero Turn. Now, this one I would say is a high-end residential, low-end commercial. So I guess what you call a prosumer, something like that. I gotta get this thing unloaded so the trailer is free for other stuff. I need to do a little bit of troubleshooting on this thing to figure out what exactly it is I need to buy. If anything, I need to identify if this starter is really bad or not. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get my jumper pack on here and see if any more power to it makes any difference at all. Then I'm going to check, like, you know, arcing the solenoid. I think I may have already done that and didn't do anything. And then I'm probably going to try pulling it and see if I can tell what exactly it is that it's doing. Oh, this starter looks like it'd be really easy to pull here. Yeah, it's just these two bolts on top. Thank you, Kawasaki. Let's do it. I need to get parts on order if I'm going to need them. So the starter's spinning just fine, but it's not engaging. Sometimes there's like a secondary solenoid that I think does the engagement, but I think that's more of a Kohler design. I'm not really seeing anything looking like that on this Kawasaki. Let's pull this thing off. The fact that it spins so good makes me wonder if we can fix it instead of having to just junk it. This is Kawasaki, so it's going to be metric, so it's probably going to be 12 millimeter bolts there. Gracious, that's tight. At this point, I'm going to take a moment to disconnect the battery so I don't fry myself. There we go. So this is what's not engaging. Oh, there we go. It goes that way. Oh, yeah. No, there it is. There's the angle thrust on it. Okay, this might be purely a lubrication issue then, because it's not coming up easy. When I pull it up there, and I let go of it, it's just slowly trying to come down. So a quick dab of lubrication, and this thing might be dandy. Or riddle me this, is the starter just not spinning fast enough for the Bendix to go up? Because it was making a kind of a shrieking noise, but it sounded like it was spinning. What was the shrieking noise? It was not a grinding noise like my teeth are not engaging all the way, or trying to engage but not doing it right all the way. If I do it right, I can do a test run off this jumper pack if it'll let me. Ah, it's getting wetter looking. What's that awful noise? Okay, this kind of matches what the guy was telling me, how he had been able to like try the starter several times and it would work. Because sometimes it is coming up all the way. It didn't seem to do that for me on the mower. Maybe if I'd fiddled more, it would have. I'm just gonna try the silicone spray and see what that does. I'm gonna try to fry this thing again. I'm gonna crank it up again. I'm gonna see what she does. That sounds way better, but it's not supposed to stay up there. Need a little more lubricant at the top of the shaft maybe, which is all gonna fly off onto my clothes as soon as I hit the spinner. Well, I don't know about you, but I think that sounds amazingly better. And I kind of want to put it back on there and see what the engine sounds like. See if this thing will start it up. That'd be great. Remember, it's aluminum, so you want to go until you can't turn anymore and it starts turning again. All right, let's get this battery hooked back up again. All right, that feels good. I think we can try to start this thing again and let's see what happens. Well, I thought my film was rolling, but it's not. So I put the starter back in and it kept kind of doing the same thing, only it wouldn't shriek. But I kept trying it and it finally started cranking over. It was a little bit slow, so I let it rest a little bit, pulled the choke, tried cranking it again, something like that. She fired right up when we had the right conditions were met. Just a little puff of exhaust and she's running clean. Yes! See if she runs it and drives. She's a little funky, but she's a good runner. Might need a little tinkering here and there, but the engine sounds good. And the transmissions, they seem to be working really good too. They have just a little whine, but no excessive groaning. They are responsive. This is a zippy little mower. Yeah, I'm excited about this. Woohoo! Didn't know how that was gonna go. Didn't know if the risk was gonna pay off. But I do still need to keep an eye on that starter and make sure that if I sell it, it's not gonna do that again immediately to someone else. So the handlebars don't seem to line up too good. I mean, they're only a few inches off. And this is funky. This thing almost runs into the deck height lever right here. And this bar almost feels twisted. I mean, this stuff kind of feels a little loose, but this deck height, I think, like, I'm not sure this works. I feel like I'm still at my transport height. So I'll have to mess around, make sure I understand how all this linkage works and that it's working good. But this is a clean little mower. I think with just a little work, it's gonna be a good sale. There's one more thing we need to check. So we need to check here and see what's going on here. There's duct tape on top of here. He told me something when I purchased it, and I can't remember what. I think it needs like a new grommet or something on here. Oh, yeah, we just got a loose hose going in there. Okay, that definitely needs something. All right, let's see if we can't get a new battery thrown into this Land Pride ZST. I have to look at it because I keep forgetting what it is. See if we can get this battery thrown in there and drive this thing up to the shop on those flat tires, and then we'll fix the flat tires up there and put a maintenance kit on this thing and fix a few other things as well, hopefully. All right, so the back right tire is a little low as well, and I had the deck chute flipped down, which gets pretty low. And this part here, I think, was digging in down there. It gets below the deck. It's interesting. Hopefully I didn't get too much dirt inside my bead there when I was running it flat. But all right, we've got some goodies here for the Land Pride Zero Turn. So let's see if we can get some of this installed. I don't have my valve cover gaskets yet, so I'm not going to do the oil change yet. But I should have plenty of other stuff to get working on. I've got my, I don't know what you call that. Like an EPA vent line or something. I don't know. Most of the mowers I work on don't really have one of these. And we've got a full maintenance kit here. Let's see. Yeah, so we've got oil filter, good size fuel filter. Interesting, that's not capped at all. 2 loose spark plugs, 2 quarts of oil, and hopefully the correct air filter. So what I found is that if you get the engine manufacturer's maintenance kit, at least for these Kawasaki's, they're fairly reasonably priced. I think this one was around 50 bucks. There may be some other kits out there that are reputable. This has kind of been the middle ground that I've used so far. It's not like a super cheap Chinese kit, so to speak, and it's not the manufacturer maintenance kit, it's the engine manufacturer's kit. Let's start with the easy stuff. Let's do the air filter and fuel filter, and then let's move on to the spark plugs and this EPA vent line. And then if we have time, we'll go ahead and try to get the front tires reseated on the bead. And then that'll leave us in a good spot for the valve cover gaskets. Let's get rolling. That looks correct. This puppy there. Yeah, that one is on the dirtier side of the filters I've seen. Done. All right, well, we got the spark plugs changed out on there, and I fixed the deck hold-up lever, the height adjuster lever. Anyway, it's this lever right here, which is a piece of flat bar, and that flat bar had bowed slightly, so the tip was not coming up high enough. When we pull this into the lever over here, the tip was not coming up high enough to disengage, so you couldn't lower the deck down. Then I put the beads on the two front tires, tried to clean out the beads well first, except for I didn't do that on my very first bead on the first tire. I did on the second bead, and on the second tire I did on both beads. And what do you know, the first tire is leaking. So the second tire is holding air, the first tire is not. I may need to try to clean the bead up on that again. Put some air into the back tires as well, aired up some tires on another mower outside, and then tried to figure out what we can do about this throttle and choke cable issue. The throttle cable is just missing a handle, not a super big deal. The choke cable, the handle comes off, and you really need a handle for that one. Now the throttle cable kind of wiggles around back here. Both cables do work though, so hopefully I can get another choke cable to install in there. I don't think I can take a choke cable handle off because a choke cable is a push-pull, so you're pulling that handle off. A throttle is just a regular lever, so not as critical, it just makes it more comfortable to use. I may replace both if I can find adequate cables. I did find a choke cable I thought might work, but for some reason it's frozen up. I've got that sitting right here with some silicone spray on both ends. Maybe I should use an actual PB blaster penetrant instead of a lubricant. I'll leave that overnight. We shall see if it frees up. If not, we'll probably try to find another cable. And I think that's it for today, folks. It's been a fruitful day, I think. I think we've made some good headway. I've been working on two different projects, this one and this one. But I think we made some good headway today. All right, so that choke cable we were trying to get freed up last night, I was able to get freed up today. I've been working it and trying to get it nice and clean, and she's doing pretty good. I will put some silicone lubricant in there, and hopefully this will help this thing to work well for a long time. Let's try to get this all the way down the cable if we can. Now this one doesn't install the same, it doesn't have the threaded backing on here. It has it has these tabs here, which I need to make sure are bent out okay. It is possible this won't work. That'd be annoying. I'm just now realizing that this may not actually work. So the old choke cable had a much narrower housing up top. It's not gonna work after all that effort. Sorry. I could make the hole bigger, but I don't feel like that's a great idea right now. Okay, I may need to go steal a different one out of the junkyard. Alright, we are back here working on the Land Pride Zero Turn. I've got some valve cover gaskets I want to put on there, and we'll double check the valves while we're in there. And I got a new knob off Amazon for the throttle, so we'll see if we can put that on there. Oh, I can't remember if I already mentioned it or not, but I swapped out the choke cable. So choke is working better. That cable is kind of long, so I looped it around inside. I'll need to put some zip ties to keep it out of the way of the fan. So we've got the new throttle knob, so let's go ahead and get that put on. That's perfect. I think that's as far as it's easily going to go on, and it's doing its job, so I like it. Time to tackle these valve covers. You can tell they're pretty oily, so I just wanted to eliminate that being a point of concern for future owners. This one's even oilier. I don't really like doing these, but hopefully I'll be getting better at it. Alright, so I've been working on this mower for a little bit now, and I'm in the middle of doing the valve cover gaskets, and while I'm in there I want to also adjust the valves. I think I got the valve cover gasket cleaned off sufficiently, but in order to turn the engine over to adjust the valves, get things set in the right spot here, I kind of have to take this whole cover off, because this cover for the flywheel is built into the whole plastic engine shroud. So We got that loose, took the filter out, so we should be able to get this thing off now. There we go. Looks like 46 thousandths. If I read everything correctly, you should probably double check. 46 thousandths is correct for the Kawasaki FR 600V. That's what I'm going to be doing, and I guess you can watch on a time lapse. We'll see if I can get this adjusted. Alright, so we got the first valve cover put back on. We got the valves hopefully adjusted correctly. And we are working away on the second one, getting everything cleaned off. That's what's taking the most time, is cleaning stuff off. So now, just need to adjust the valves and put it all back together. Now, I will say, I think I made a mistake. Maybe, I don't know. I looked up the torque specs, and it was like 4-point-something foot-pounds of torque on the valve covers, which seemed really low. And my torque wrench like starts at like 5, so I don't know how accurate it is. So I did it like 5, and then I bumped it up to about 7. One bolt started feeling a little weird. I got concerned because, oh no, I'm way over torquing it, and maybe I am. So on this one, I'll probably try to stick closer to 5 foot-pounds of torque. It's just so little, I just don't want them to leak. It is what it is. Alright, I have let this drag on way too long, I think, and I want to get this knocked out. I'm going to go ahead and adjust the valves on this side, get that valve cover back on, torque it down not as much, probably just go to 5 foot-pounds instead of 7, and man, let's move on. Let's keep working on this mower and get this thing ready to sell. I've had this thing, gosh, probably around almost a month now, or around a month now, so we need to get this thing out of here. Alright, well that took almost an embarrassingly long amount of time to get the valves adjusted on here, but they're done now, at least hopefully good enough. I had this thing where I didn't want to pull the spark plug out because I'd already changed the spark plugs, and I don't know, I guess concern about spark plug threads stripping out, etc. So I didn't really want to pull the spark plug out to find top dead center, which is officially what you're supposed to do on these as far as I can understand. So what I was doing was I was adjusting them the way I've always tended to do, which is basically go till, like, if your exhaust valve is compressed all the way, then there shouldn't be any tension on your intake. And then I would adjust at that point. When your intake is in all the way, then I would adjust the exhaust valve. Not officially the way you're supposed to do it, but always seemed to work. So I was doing that, and then I adjusted the engine to what I thought was top dead center, and things weren't quite the same. Something was a little different between times. And also I discovered on these rocker arms, sometimes you have to wiggle them to get the feeler gauge under there because they may settle in a spot that's tighter, and you just wiggle them around. So I chose to pull the spark plug out. It's not that big a deal. Pull the spark plug out, find top dead center, and adjusted it there, and then we were good to go. The other side I didn't do that, but I'm guessing it's going to be close enough. The valves will be tighter than they were before, most likely. Anyway, so there's a lot of adjusting and readjusting. That's behind us now. Yeah, so I'll probably crank it for a little bit, try not to start, try to make sure there's oil getting up into the heads, hopefully, and then after I cranked it for a little bit without starting it, hopefully, then I'll start it up, let it run for a little bit, and then we can change the oil. Then we can move on to other projects on this mower. We're almost done, I hope. Makes it easy for it to not start if you don't put the choke on. So this is a little bit embarrassing, but after I turned off the camera, well, I was looking for this hose, which I eventually found because, well, it was in the bed of my truck covered in leaves because I haven't used it in a while. But I'll show you why I wanted this hose. Because of this oil drain spot right here. And look at all this distance to cover. And I noticed that this wasn't oily, like it had oil spilled out. Anyway, I went on a wild goose chase all over to find this hose, which is very useful, I will say. It came off like an old washing machine. Then I started looking at this a little more closely and realized that this actually is a hole right here. And this is just a valve. The oil comes straight out the bottom. I can just put my oil pan under there and it will drain straight into it. So I didn't need my drain hose, but at least now I have it and I know where it is. It's right there. Now I can drain my oil. Alright, I got all the oil drained out. Now it's just a matter of how big of a mess I can avoid making when I do the filter. Ah, yeah. Oh, gracious. I had the engine sloped this way to drain out the drain plug, but the oil from the filter was running along the frame because of that. Sweet. That looks the same. For now, we'll probably top that up later, and we have made ourselves a dandy little mess. Good morning, folks. We are back working on the Land Pride ZST flip, and as you can see, the front tires have gone flat, so I reseated the beads and aired them up, and well, they lost their air again. So I don't really want to pull them off the mower. I think what I'm going to do is probably just slime them. Front tires on zero turns can oftentimes have issues, get slow leaks and stuff, so I'm thinking I'm just going to try to slime them. I may try to adjust the bead on one side on this tire because I don't think I cleaned it as thoroughly as all the other beads. I'll probably check the valve cores to make sure that that's not the issue as well. Maybe spray some soapy water on them a little bit, but I don't want to buy new tires. I don't really want to put tubes in them, and that doesn't leave a lot of options. So I'm thinking we're probably just going to slime it, but slime may not work too good if it is a bead leak. Yeah, that's the plan. Try to see if we can get these front tires in a good spot, and then we're almost there on this mower. Just a few other things. I may need to do some welding, but we'll see how that goes. Oh yeah, we are leaking on this bead pretty badly. It's foaming up all over that bead. Okay, so it's a bead we're fighting. What I may do is try to break this tire back down, try to clean up the bead further, and then just air it up really high and see if I can get it to seat real well. Could just be some dirt in there somewhere. I'll do a time lapse of me breaking it down and trying to clean it up. Okay, so I decided it wasn't worth it to try to keep the wheel on the mower, so I pulled it off real quick. That was easy. Somebody gave me this Harbor Freight wheel and tire machine. I had a small one for mower tires and stuff, but I'd have to dig it out and clamp it to something. So I'm going to try this big one, see if I can use this to pop the bead off, if I can figure out how this thing works. There we go. Well, that wasn't too bad. I just need to see if I can get this thing cleaned up. Oh, there's so much junk in there. Partially my fault for running this up on flat tires in the mud. I don't think I'm going to video this because it's going to be hard to show when I don't know what I'm doing, but let's see if I can get that fixed. Alright, enough trying to clean up that bead. Let's see if this thing will hold air and hold it better. And if not, we're just going to go straight on to tire slime because I'm getting tired of working on this. It's kind of a pain. So normally, I would use a ratchet tie down strap to seat the bead on something like this. But in this case, I'm just going to try to put my knee on here and see if that'll be a sufficient amount of pressure to force the bead out. So another way you can try to seat a bead is to throw the tire and try to force it down. Might get close. Oh yeah, she took air immediately. Make sure we get enough to seat it all the way. Probably way too much air, but we're trying to force out the bead real good. Alright, nothing crazy like before, that's for sure. That is good. Oh, now we're showing we're leaking in the valve stem? No. So I do have more valve stems. I can throw one in there, but that's kind of a pain because that means I have to break the bead again to do that and then reseat the bead. My guess is on the tire machine, I probably push the valve stem up against something and may have damaged it. Just need to push it all the way through. Just fell inside the tire. That stinks. Stinks quite a bit. I thought the tire bead was going to kind of help hold it in place and give it some pressure. and slipped around and it fell right out. I know you're in there. Got it. I'm glad we got this out. Now we just need to get it in the right way without losing it. How did I do that a few minutes ago? This thing is so long, it's hard to thread it down and through. I'm gonna try these giant vice grips to see if they can help compress my sidewall down to where I can actually get this thing in. Oh, look at that. Oh, yes. Why would this not go through the hole? I think it's a different size valve stem. I didn't realize there was multiple sizes of valve stems. Yeah, look at that. Pretty sure those are two different sizes. I just went with whatever I could get at the Walmart. So I'm not 100% sure if it really is smaller, if it's just smaller because it's been shoved in there so long. I might need to do some quick Googling here. All right, well, quick Googling indicates that there are multiple sizes. 0.625 inches and 0.453. So basically 5/8 inches or 11.5 millimeter. So one metric, one not. I'm gonna take this thing out and see if we can figure this out. Oh, that's definitely the smaller. Yeah, these are 5/8 as far as I can tell. Looks like I need to go to town and get some smaller valve stems. I'll be back. All right, so quick trip to AutoZone. Well, sort of quick. And now I'm ready to get back on it. And I know more about these valve stems, tire valves than I did. This is like $6.50 for a pair, so like $3.50 a piece. Not the end of the world, but they are smaller. So I didn't realize it, but at the very bottom of the packages, they do have a sizer. It's not up here, it's down here at the very bottom. I got 4 of the new ones in case I need to put these on any other mowers. Now the trick is to not lose them, but we've got a new toolbox, which I think will have a good spot for putting these in, so. That looks a lot better. Oh, how do you get these in? Why is this so hard? There's gotta be a trick to this. So, looking it up on YouTube, it sounds like I was on the right track. I just need to do what I was doing, only try harder. So, that's what we're gonna do. There it goes. Got it. Just need to be pulled a little harder. That looks good. Now I prefer a shorter would be better because the long one's gonna potentially need to flex around a little bit more than a shorter one would. So it's probably more likely this one's gonna break in the future, but let's see if we can get this thing inflated. Didn't realize the camera wasn't on. All right, so this is my inner race for the bearing in the wheel. I cleaned that out, ran a paper towel through it. I hope it's clean enough. I think anything else in there is hopefully just grease. Trying to clean this off before I shove it down in there. The bolt runs through the middle, so that doesn't have to be as clean, but I may as well clean it up a little bit while we're here. Let's get this thing reinstalled. All right, got one tire fixed, I think. It only took half the day. Now we need to fix the other one. This is why I don't really like messing with tires. They seem to take longer than I want them to. Maybe I'm just not experienced enough or set up well enough for them. But yeah, it's afternoon sometime, probably 2 or 3. And I've only gotten one tire fixed. Let's air up the other tire, then spray it down and see where it's leaking. See if it needs the same kind of treatment or not. Oh, it's off the bead. Lovely. May as well try to clean this bead off though while it's off. You've seen that though, so I won't bore you with that again. Hey, it felt like it took there. Definitely took. Alright. Yeah, we got some bead leaking going on over here. Let's try deflating some and re-inflating. See if we can get it to the valve to feel better. That is definitely better than we were, as far as I can tell. Alright, well if we still have any leaks going on here, they are a lot less than they were before, and as long as it's not a valve stem, I'm just going to use tire slime to try to get rid of them. I don't plan to take off any more wheels, but probably should go ahead and grease the other wheel as well, and see if there's a good way to grease these spindles. Yeah, there's no grease zerk in there, nothing to grease there, it's just a cap, so I'd have to take it all apart to grease it, so I'll just maybe clean it up just a touch and not grease it. Well, that was fun. Not really, but make sure your beads are clean. That can be a big one. All right, let's get this oil topped off here real quick. Well, it actually looks like it's already out the full zone, so it's a good thing we stopped there. Let's crank it over, get the oil filter filled up, and see if that changes anything. And it is dropping down a little bit. Oh yeah, I definitely need to add some oil there. Okay. Kawasaki, I like metal dipsticks better. You can see them. Alright, right in the middle of the fill zone. That'll be just fine for right now. Alright, so this maintenance kit came with a service sticker, so let's go ahead and see if we can find a spot to put this on here. Alright, well that is about it for this mower. There is one more thing, maybe a couple things here. The drive levers. This one has a bracket that has a little crack in it that I might want to weld, and this one I might want to take apart to try to twist back. But I'm going to go ahead and take this thing out and try to give it a test run, see how well this thing does, because I do recall the previous owner told me that he thought the drive belt might have been getting a little bit loose, but I kind of want to try this thing out and just put it through its paces a little bit and see how it goes before I do anything further here. These levers don't match here, and that's kind of annoying. Let's see if we can fix that real quick. Something going on with the deck. So I don't know if you guys could hear it, but the deck sounded a little bit noisy to me. Not quite sure what's going on, if there's a belt flapping or what. Let's see if we can take a peek and see. Belt feels fine, decent tension. Bearing feels tight. Is something rattling on here? May have to try it again. Seems to be a little bit quieter at full throttle. So it may just be hitting a resonance there that is rattling some stuff around, like I don't know, any bolts like on the hinges, like for this thing. That one's got a hinge that's somewhat loose. These idler wheels. Now this idler wheel over here is looser, so maybe the noise is coming from something like that. We'll run it a little more and see if it becomes apparent. Well, it is my expert opinion that the left side is a little faster forward and the right side is a little faster backwards. I don't know that it's enough to really be a concern to anyone operating it, but just something I noticed. Most zero turns, one side is a little bit faster than the other, or they're like offset a little bit, so it's slower forward but faster in reverse. Not quite sure why the deck was making that noise, honestly. May have to take it into the shop and see if we can figure out what's going on there. We shall see if we can find out what that is. It's a nice little mower, but I still like bigger mowers better. All right, see you back in the shop. Okay, so I zipped off this floor pan with the impact, and I think I've got an idea now what might be causing our noise. I think it's our tensioner here. Now this is a funky tensioner because it's hard to describe, but it kind of basically, it goes around here, so it has a spot that rattles. It could rattle a whole lot. So I think what I need to do is put more tension on the belt, like suck that in a little bit. I think maybe that will help keep it from rattling around if it has more tension on it. That's my guess, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Hopefully we're not over tensioning the belt. The belt looks good though, so that's a good sign. And then while we're in here, we can go ahead and grease what there is to be greased. Oh no, I wasn't expecting my ratcheting box to get stuck on there. That is the problem with one-way ratchets, you can get them stuck. Up a creek without a paddle if I didn't have another 9/16 or some way to tighten this back enough to get off. All right, so I tightened up that tensioner spring quite a bit. I'd say about that far. And I greased all 3 spindles, put 4 pumps of grease in each one, and I greased the 4 deck hanging points. Oh, I tightened on this anti-scallop wheel down here. The other one wasn't really that bad, but I tightened it up too. Hopefully we got rid of our rattle. One thing I've been noticing though is that the transport lever, this little black thing here, we tried to straighten that out when we first got the mower so we could get it into transport. It's already bent back enough that it's touching. I'm gonna try to bend that back a little farther. I'm not quite sure what to do about that. Just not sure how long that's gonna last us for. There, now it's locked. But it wants to bow up when the pressure is pushing against the tip of that. That's where it locks. We may just have to leave it like that for now. Keep an eye on it through further testing. Yeah, we probably ought to dig into the controls and start seeing if we're gonna do some welding here. Well, the brackets on this side here, it's gonna be a pain. It doesn't have to be, but it might be. This is what I'm trying to work on here. This bracket down here has some cracks on it. I don't know if you can see that, but there's like a crack on this weld up here. Now there is a weld on the underside of it as well. However, I kind of feel better about going ahead and welding that one spot. However, I haven't done any welding in a long time. Got it, yes. All right, after much finagling, we got it out of there. This is the bracket that needs to be welded, and that right there is the spot that I think needs to be welded. Now it is welded on the far side as well, and that weld hadn't let go, so it's possible this never would have been an issue, but I think it's better to get this fixed if we can. However, I don't want to mess this all up. Too much heat in the wrong spot could really affect things and torque them. I noticed this other handlebar seems slightly torqued or out of alignment, and that could be from a number of things. It could be this bracket being slightly bent on the other side. But we got this out so we can try to grind into there and weld it. This handlebar was not crooked, so that is good. But I'm wondering if this square tube on the other side here, I wonder if the square tube is slightly twisted. But you can see how it wears down against the frame of the mower. Alright, so I've been practicing with the new welder, and here's some welds here to prove that I'm pretty lousy. They kind of join the metal together. Some of them look better than others, but let's get the ground off there, flip this thing over. Some of them look half decent, some of them not so much. But basically I'm just trying to go low and slow. I've been using the welder at B on the voltage and 2 on the wire speed. But I don't want to throw too much heat into this bushing here. I need to take both of those out before they don't melt. So I'll have to be careful for sure. All right, let's get the Dremel out, see if we can open up this crack, and then we can put some metal in there. Should probably drill out the end of that, honestly. Maybe I should have made that smaller. Hope that's not going to be a problem. Well, that is far from perfect, but I think it's going to be sufficient for what we're doing here. At least I hope it will be, combined with my expert welding skills. But you know what? The welds that are on here already are not perfect anyway, so I can be not perfect also. Actually doesn't look too terrible. See if I can get the other side now. That looks terrible. Wow, it's terrible. All the slag and splatter in there. It just might work though. All right, it's time to get back to working on the Land Pride. This bracket is dried up. I did that on Saturday. It's Monday now. I also purchased some lawnmower blades for it and a new drive belt. So let's see if we can get this steering assembly back together. Maybe we'll take apart the other one. I don't know yet. I'm not quite sure. And try to tweak it a little bit because it rubs a little bit. Not bad, but you know, it kind of bugs me a little bit. Get the new drive belt installed and get the blades installed. Let's go get it done. Isn't that so pretty? I mean, at least it's red. The welding is terrible, but I think it'll hold. See if I can remember how all this goes together. I'm thinking about rotating this around to give it a longer life since it started to wear down in there. Yeah, I think it was this way. So if I just flip it around like that, it might help. This is one of those things that now that I've done it a little bit, it kind of makes a little more sense. Like, it's not as hard to put back together as I thought it would be. All right, that wasn't too bad. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and try to take apart the other side and see if I can, you know, at the very least, maybe flip this tube around on that side as well. And maybe I can tweak things so that it doesn't rub quite so much. But yeah, it is twisted just enough that it tries to rub and bind coming down into this slot here. I'll spare you the details of getting this one out. Well, I just got the other bracket off and it seemed a little off when I was taking it out, but I just realized what the problem is. See, I noticed that looked a little funky down there. A little wavy, but that's the real problem. This is broken, so that thing can twist. So this bolt is not really pointing in the right direction anymore. So we need to see if we can hammer, bend, and weld this back together now that we are proficient at welding. Oh goodness, I wasn't expecting that. I'm glad I took it apart though. And we've got a little tiny crack out up here. I wonder how much a new one of these brackets would cost. Nah, we got a welder. We'll fix it. This thing is pretty tweaked. See what we can do to bring it back close to straight, and then we'll need to weld it. I don't have a vise, and I need a vise. This is tough. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do here. After much finagling and making things worse, I think I've made them better enough to where the gap is pretty close. I could probably weld that. I'm going to try to trim it up or clean it out just a little bit with this, just to make sure it welds better. Then hopefully I'll weld it. We'll see if we get to that today though. Alright, I like that. I notched out where that crack was. Really just need to weld this thing and then tweak it as necessary to get it the way where it will work well. Alright, it is a new day and it's time to weld that bracket. I've been practicing with the welder again, seeing if I can get a little bit better. And I think I am getting a little bit better. I think I need a little higher voltage, so I'll try to do that here. It's a really small gap to weld. I've got it kind of clamped off, so it's fairly tight. I didn't know if I really wanted them absolutely touching or not. I like the looks of that gap. See if I can weld that. It's time to go ahead and do it. I'll put the camera behind me and you can watch and laugh, I guess. It'd be better if you could learn, but I'm not in a position to teach, so. I'm a lot happier with that weld than with the weld from the other day. Isn't that pretty-ish? I mean, it's not perfect. I think I still went a little too fast and stopped a little soon. They're pretty decent. All right, we're gonna leave that the way it is on that spot, and we're gonna go ahead and try to fill in the other crack slash notch that I put in there. Well, there was a crack and I notched it out a little bit. So right there on that bolt. Yeah, I'll try to fill that in and then hopefully we should be good to go. Oh, that'll do. That worked better than I thought it would. There are some BBs I'll have to clean off. Worked out pretty good there. I'll just come back and do the other side and we should be okay there. Another one I'm pretty pleased with the outcome on. Let's clean that up. All right, just need to get stuff cleaned up and straighten this thing out a little bit and grind that smooth so the hinge works well. We may need to bend this back a little bit, but now that's welded together, hopefully it'll be a little easier. This bolt, the end of this bolt needs to go up from this perspective, so that you can see how the edge is bent a little bit. It's looking better. Then we're gonna go try fitting it up in the mower and see if it works. All right, so nothing's bolted in there, but this looks like it's fitting in there with no conflict, so I think we should probably leave it well enough alone and move on with life and bolt it all back together. I did flip the bar around to save it some wear. I'll hit it with some red paint first, and then maybe after lunch I'll assemble. All right, well that's drying. Let's go ahead and get the drive belt replaced. So I purchased a new drive belt. Here's the old one. The previous owner told me that it would start slipping sometimes, he thought. I can see there's cracking in this belt, so the belt's old enough. So we'll see if we can get that swapped out real quick here. Basically, I'll have to pull off the blade deck belt because it's on the crankshaft, it's below. So I have to get that off. May have to disconnect the PTO. We'll see what we have to disconnect. I also see here that we have a tensioner for the drive belt. And this tensioner has been tightened up pretty much all the way. So yeah, maybe the drive belt is ready to be replaced. We've got a new one. We'll just go ahead and get it swapped out. Now we are loose. All right. It was easy. Just slipped it right off over these fans and out she came. Need to make sure these belts are the same length. They are pretty comparable. That is good. But this belt definitely had cracking in it. So now just reverse the process. Now I need to make sure it's relatively in these pulleys up top. The belt's so loose it's not staying in all the right spots. So I need to go ahead and start mounting the tensioner. I just tightened it back to where it came from. Hopefully that's enough tension. And yeah, I should be good to go there. Mark that off the list. Alright, the new drive belt is in. We're still waiting for paint to dry, so let's go ahead and put on a new set of blades, which we purchased and have right here. A nice bright green, I think medium lift, pretty conservative. Let's get them on. You know, I could have put it on the mower lift, but since I can't really drive it very well right now, I was hoping I could just jack it. See if this can squeeze on there. Oh, not quite. Gracious. Wow, untight. Okay. That should do it. Okay, it's gonna run into all the crud on the edge. The seat feels a little too far back for me, so I'm gonna adjust it forward a little bit as well. We just need some paint to dry. Put this thing back together, wash it up, list it for sale. Oh wait, I forgot. I want to paint the gas cap too. Maybe I should do that now. Good morning. So the paint has dried and it is time to wrap up this project, put it back together, get it washed, and get it for sale. I'm still happy about this weld today. Just looks pretty nice. That one does. Inside not quite so much, but it'll be okay. And here's the gas cap, nice and ugly since it didn't get sanded down enough, but that's okay. It's all yellow now. Let's get this thing back together. Let's go ahead and try to get these handles lined up. Mission accomplished. All right, let's see if this thing still runs and drives after sitting for all this time. Come on. We're not all the way out of gas, but we are getting lower, so I'm gonna go ahead and throw some gas in there. All right, take two. Let's fire her up. Well, folks, she's a runner. I think she's ready to sell. The only issue is that that transport lever continues to try to bend. If you run it around a lot on transport, it'll flex and then it won't want to disengage. So I think that's just an issue with the design, something I could fix if I was maybe a better welder and wanted to put more time into it. I think this thing is ready for a new owner. I think it's time to sell it. It cuts really well. It's kind of fun, zippy mower, and I got caught doing more than just the minimum amount of mowing there, so you can tell I kind of enjoyed driving it. Now that said, I would not want to have this mower as my personal mower because it gets terrible traction. Like when you're trying to turn and you're trying to do a zero turn, you run one wheel backwards, one wheel forward. The forward wheel has more traction than the backwards wheel. And you can burn a spot in the ground with your back wheel slipping. So there's certainly times that it feels like it's lacking traction, especially when it's really dry out here and we need some rain. As you can tell, it's pretty dusty, but it seems to cut pretty well and it's a zippy little mower. I think someone else will enjoy it. All right, we got this thing washed up. I just took some pictures of it. Now it's time for me to list it for sale. But yeah, it's looking good. All right, well, it sounds like we may have someone coming tomorrow for this mower at $1,900. We'll see if that transpires, but I want to go ahead and make sure this thing still starts and runs okay. So I've made sure that they know about this lever bending, the seat being unglued. And anyway, I'm just gonna go ahead and see if I can start this thing up. It seems a little finicky. I feel like it doesn't like much choke, so we'll see. All right, well, we'll see how things go tomorrow. Maybe it sells, maybe it doesn't. Well, it is early the next morning, and it sounds like he's on his way and should be here in just a few minutes. So we'll see if this thing sells today or not. I I hope it does, and I hope it starts up okay. Never quite know how that's gonna go, but we'll see. Well, here it is.
Land Pride, huh?
Yeah, there's not a ton of Land Prides out there. It seems like
continued.
Yeah, it looks like Kubota bought them out.
I did the same thing you're doing right now for 10 years.
Oh, yeah?
Selling trade, and I had several of these Land Prides, and it was pretty good little machines. That's fine.
So this thing right here is quirky. Like that tab tries to bend down.
That ain't a big deal. I'm sure I can knock it back down flat again.
Man, we need some rain. All right, well, that was a super nice guy who's done some flipping in the past, and he had a few things to tell me, so I really appreciated meeting him. And he gave me $1,900 for it. I counted, it's all there. Yeah, super nice guy. Had some tips and tricks and things like that, and just past experience, so I really appreciate meeting people like that. I've got some stuff going on, so I'll catch you all in the shop later, and we'll run over the numbers and see how we did. All right, so let's wrap this thing up. So this flip turned out pretty well, but here are the numbers. I know you can't really see them very well, so let's go over them real quick. I paid $800 for the Land Pride. Then I spent $40 for a battery, $26.98 on the little vent doohickey that I had to put in the tank, $6.50 for the orange throttle, the lever handle. I spent $48.93 on the maintenance kit, and that was a genuine Kawasaki maintenance kit. $23.76 on a drive belt, and I spent $53.28 on the lawnmower blades. Now, I thought this flip didn't do as well as the numbers are actually showing, and that's probably because I also spent like $200 on welding equipment. But that's not just for this, that's for lots of things in the future, so I can't really say that was a part of the expense for this flip exactly, but it depends on how you look at it, I guess. I did spend a lot of time on it also because I was doing welding and tires, and I haven't done either of those really much in a while. Welding, it's been very little experience over a really long period of time. Tires, I've done a little bit of that more recently, but still, I'm hopefully getting better at working on tires. And then the one thing that we thought we might need to replace when we bought it, which was the starter, we actually did not replace. And we also did not glue the seat down. I could have done that. Maybe I'll do that again. I still have mixed feelings on that. You know, comment below what you think. It seems like a lot of people think it's not a big deal. To me, it still feels like a big deal because I don't have a good way to clamp it down. I'm using like 2x4s and ratchet straps, and it's just awkward. I don't know. If I had like a mold that fit in there, I don't know. What do you guys do? How do you guys do it? And also without damaging the seat, especially if it gets cooler. I don't want to crinkle the vinyl too much. A few other things to mention is I did grease a bunch of stuff, but the grease doesn't really cost much of anything. I did put on a different choke cable that I had from my parts yard. That could have been maybe a $15 expense, something like that. So back to the numbers. This one actually turned out pretty decently. So all in, we're right about $1,000. If I did my numbers right, it was $999.42 that we spent on it. That means we made a profit of $900 off of our $1,000 investment, which is not terrible. It may not be the greatest, but hey, you know, that actually worked out. I learned some things. I didn't really know how much this mower was going to sell for. I was really happy to get $1,900 for it. I thought it might be only an $1,800 mower. And I also thought I may have put more money into it than I had, because some of those items felt expensive, but they really weren't that bad. So anyway, I think this flip turned out really well, and hopefully we can get more flips like this, maybe even better ones. I think we can get some that are better, and maybe if we had the same situation again, it would be a little bit faster. So we need to get going. There's lots more flipping that we need to do if we can, but I've also got to get into part sales because, you know, I've got two things that we're doing here, but this series is about the flips. Let's go get some more flips. Let's see if we can hit that $50,000. Let's do it. I want to do it. Maybe we can get past that. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. As always, thank you so much for coming along for this journey. I appreciate you guys watching. Stay safe out there. Spend time with your families. Don't be afraid to get out there and break a wrench, and we will catch you all on the next one.